Dear learners, welcome back to our educational channel Learn and Educate. In this video, we will study about the definition of centralization and decentralization as given by Henry Fayol. All the actions, all the systems, all the rules and practices which goes on to increase the importance of role of subordinate is decentralization, and all the actions, systems and practices which goes on to decrease the importance of subordinates' role. It is centralization, wherein the actions, systems, and roles, when the work done, and the importance is of value, power, responsibility, it is associated with the subordinates' role, and those are increased, then it is called as decentralization. When the work done by the subordinate, when the action done by the subordinate, and every other things which goes on to increase the importance of the role of subordinate, it is decentralization. The simple meaning which refers to the concentration of authority, the concentration of decision making power, and which where it stays. When the concentration of authority and decision making is at the top level, it is centralization. When the power stays with the senior management and how they exercise the authority and the decision making, wherein the lower level employees have less authority, it is centralization. When the higher level, when the top manager, the top management has higher authority and decision making power, it is centralization. When the activities, the actions which goes on to decrease the role of subordinate, it is centralization. Therefore, centralization is an act, is a system which refers to everything, every work that leads to reduction in the value, importance of subordinate. It is centralization. Therefore, as per Henry Fayol, when the decisions are taken by the top management, when the decisions are followed by the lower level employees, and the authorities flows upward, then the organization is centralized. When the work done, when the importance is given to the subordinate, and that is the organization is decentralized, wherein they can, when the employees, low level employees, can do the work based upon their thoughts, based upon their decision making, based upon their actions. Therefore it is decentralization of the organization, wherein the top management gives orders, exercise the authority to middle management, and those middle management give orders to lower employees. Then power stays mostly at the top. The subordinates have limited decision making power. In the case of decentralization, when there is a distribution of authority and decision making power to lower level, in simple words, power is shared and the subordinates are empowered. When the subordinates are empowered, their roles is increased. It is decentralization, wherein everything, every policy, every actions that goes on to increase, to raise, to expand and strengthen the authority, responsibility, and influence of the subordinate, and the roles, that is the position and the power of lower level employees, then it is called as decentralization. When lower managers take decisions, employees are trusted with authority, and power flows downward, the organization is decentralized. When the power flows downward and the employees are trusted, and the decision making and the working is in the hands of the lower employees, when they take decision with respect to the working, with respect to the authority and decision making, which rest, which is at the lower level, which is at the hands of the employees, then it is decentralization. And when the power flows downwards, which means that the organization is decentralized. When the lower level employees with authority, they work, and the power is spread across all the levels. When the subordinates plays an active role in the organization, and when the authority is not centered at the top, and when the role of subordinate is given importance and decision making is at the lower level, therefore authority is delegated downward, there is an increase in the role of subordinate, The greater decision making power is at the lower level and its employees, and the trust in employees is given. The wider span of responsibility is at the bottom. The wider span of responsibility is at the bottom of the organization and increases the role of subordinate. Authority is delegated downward. It is decentralization. In the case of centralization, the authority is concentrated at the top. There is the reduced role of subordinates, limited decision making power at the lower level, and strict control from above. There is a narrow span of responsibility at the bottom level. Therefore, it is decentralization. When everything, that is all organized or actions of the organization, they expand the authority. They expand the authority of the subordinates, that is the lower level employees. Then it is decentralization. And all the organization actions, it reduces the authority, the power of the subordinate and their role. It is concentration of power, that is centralization, wherein how the organization fits itself with the individuals, with the efforts of the individual and the departments to achieve the organization goals. Therefore, in the case of centralization, it is through top down control, and in the case of decentralization, it is the coordination through mutual adjustment and communication. Wherein, in the case of centralization, it happens because of one central authority directs everyone. In the case of a decentralized organization, it happens, the working happens because everyone communicates and cooperates with each other. Therefore, the centralization is an wherein the authority remains at the top, the controls at the top, and the role of subordinate is not given importance. It is decentralization. In the case of centralization, the power moves upward, the subordinate's role is decreased, and in the case of decentralization, the power moves downward and the subordinate's roles is increased.